David here with figbootonpens. It always feels a little special when you obtain your first pen from a manufacturer. It doesn't matter if it's a high-end brand or an entry-level brand. You feel like you've joined a special club, and so that's kind of how I feel today because I recently purchased my first Visconti. And this is the box, and what I'm going to do is show you what's inside this box, and then we'll go over the parts of the pen, things that I care for, things that I don't care for about it. I'll show you some measurements, and then we'll go over a writing sample. So the Visconti I picked up was one of their Van Gogh line. The line has a number of pens inspired by the works of Van Gogh, and it comes in this interesting wedge-shaped box. And that inside is a nice faux leather box that's very nice, it's very soft. And the model I decided upon was the irises. The reason I chose this model was because irises is my favorite Van Gogh painting. I grew up in Southern California, and irises is displayed at the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles. The museum's one of my favorites, and I visited there many, many times. Here are some comically out of focus pictures of some of the art at the Getty. Here's irises. They also have some Monets. They have a Rembrandt I really like, as well as one of my favorite paintings by a Belgian artist named Fernand Knopf. They also have some beautiful grounds, and the architecture of the museum's multiple buildings is really interesting as well. So, okay, enough about art, let's get back to pens. The bottom line is that I always enjoyed visiting irises, and this pen reminds me of those visits with my friends and my family. So when you have a pen that you can tie to personal experiences, I think that makes that pen even more special. And it helps if it's a quality pen, which this is. So here is the pen, and it actually comes, I think it's nice that they include a picture of the painting that it's inspired by. And it comes with a little booklet that goes into the Visconti brand and a number of the other pens in the Van Gogh line. So I really like the greens and the blues and the yellows and browns of this pen. When I first saw the actual painting of irises, I was surprised about how thick the oil is on the painting itself, and the depth of the painting really gives, or the depth of the paint really gives the painting a three-dimensional feel, and the strokes of color on this pen invoke the same feeling. So I think they did a very good job capturing the feeling of the painting with this pen. On the finial is the Visconti logo, if you can see that. A little bit shiny, but the Visconti logo is there. It utilizes the Visconti My Pen system, where with a strong magnet you can actually remove this and replace it with a precious stone or a zodiac symbol or even your initials. For your initials, it's actually in two parts and one part for each letter, and it fits together in kind of a yin-yang symbol kind of way. It kind of annoys me when I have a pen where the logo is just like a degree or two off and it's not perfectly aligned with the clip, and I have several pens where it's just like a degree or two off. So I like the fact that I could tweak this a little bit and make it perfectly straight. So the unique Visconti clip has a lot going on. First of all, the design is an homage to the Ponte Vecchio Bridge in Florence, Italy. Here's a picture of the bridge I borrowed from their Wikipedia page. And you can see how the curvature of the clip resembles the underside of the bridge. It has Visconti printed on both sides, Visconti on one side, Visconti on the other. And that it has a spring clip, which I really like. The metal section that's opposite the clip almost seems like it should move when you open it up, but it doesn't. It's just solid. I also noticed that there isn't a ball or a flare at the end of the clip, so that if you went to go put it in your pocket, it's just not going to fit. It's not going to go into your pocket. And so what you need to do is you need to lift the clip by grabbing it and squeezing it just a tiny bit. So you just grab it, and when you squeeze on the pen just a little bit, then it raises the clip. There's not a ton of resistance on the clip, and so once you get used to it, it really feels natural. The cap has a rather wide band, and on one side it says irises, and on the other side it says Van Gogh. And then there's a slight step down to the barrel, and both the barrel and the cap have 18 facets that help add some dimension to the pen. And then it tapers down slightly to a shiny metal end. Nothing going on there other than just some shiny metal. The cap is magnetized, which is actually pretty cool, and it just pops right off. There are times though when the magnet doesn't quite cap the pen completely, like right there, and you have to kind of help it all along a little bit, and you can hear the click. So there it went fine, then it didn't quite do it, and you have to push it there. So after using the pen for a while, making sure that the cap was totally secure really becomes natural. You don't even really think about it. It's kind of like the clip, it just becomes natural. But I do like the system of the magnetic clip, or the magnetic cap. Something I noticed on mine was actually an area of the pen where the coloring didn't completely cover the barrel. It's maybe a little bit hard to see here, but the coloring really didn't, at this spot right here, completely cover the barrel. It's kind of covered up by the fact that the metal on the inside of the pen, I don't know if it's brass, but it's kind of yellowish, and so it mixes in, but there's just an area of translucency in the pen, which bugged me just slightly. The section is a polished metal, and that I was a bit afraid because I generally dislike polished metal sections and find them to be slippery. I don't necessarily consider myself to have oily or wet hands, I just find them really slippery. But what helped was the raised part at the end of the section. So that raised part helps the grip, and that it's not too bad. The nib itself is steel and has a half moon breather hole. I have some close-up pictures of it right here. It has some really nice etching, and the nib itself, I'm not sure of the process. I'll just say that it doesn't look polished. You could see here in the picture that it kind of gives it a natural look, which I really do like for this pen. The feed is plastic and has the Visconti logo on it, which I haven't seen before. I hadn't seen, it actually says Visconti right here in the little notch. So I hadn't seen that before, where a company had branded the feeds. For a steel nib, this, in my opinion, is very, very good. We'll talk about that more in the writing sample. But initially, I had some ink flow issues with the pen, and I had originally had it inked up with some Anderson Pens ink that I like a great deal, but it just didn't quite get along with this pen. And so I switched over to a Visconti ink, and I haven't experienced the same flow issues. I don't feel that the Anderson Pens ink is poor. I just think that it didn't match up well with my specific pen, which at times inks and pens don't quite match up together. The cap does post securely, but it's not magnetized. That kind of would have been neat. There is a metal section back here, and it would have been neat if it kind of snapped into a posting position as well. It is long enough to use unposted, and the cap isn't too heavy, so that it is very comfortable to use while it is posted as well. And I kind of prefer to use it posted because I kind of like seeing the Visconti clip, and it's a very cool cap as well. So it does work decent though. So how do I like my first Visconti? I like it very much, which could be a very dangerous thing, especially since I've already placed my order for my second Visconti. So let's take a look at some measurements, and then we'll do a writing sample. So here we go with the writing sample for the Visconti Van Gogh irises. I thought I'd give you another look at the irises painting itself, and just so you could see how the colors really compare to that. And so, as I mentioned before, I think they did a good job capturing the painting. And so here we have the Visconti Van Gogh irises, and this is a medium nib, and the ink is Visconti Blue. And Visconti Blue is a decent blue. It's kind of a nice deep blue, very similar to something like the Omas blue or the Lamy blue. They're all kind of in that same family. Plus, what I like most about it is the bottle. The bottle is very cool. It has a cool top to it, but then it's a nice plastic bottle. It just has a really neat look to it. Actually, I was playing BioShock Infinite, the video game, a while back, and I walked into a room and looked on a counter and I took a picture of it. But look, right there is a Visconti ink bottle right there in the video game. So I thought that was kind of cool that they included that in here. So let's do a bit of a writing sample now. Lazy dog. This is a steel nib, and you can get a little bit of line variation out of here. It's not springy. I wouldn't categorize it as springy or stiff. It's kind of right there in the middle. And it's not buttery smooth, but does have a little bit of good feedback, we'll say. You can see that you can get a little bit of line variation if we push it. And depending on the ink, this can be rather wet. And in regard to reverse writing, it does very well. It lays down a nice extra fine line. So then in regard to fast writing, I haven't had any issues with the Visconti ink and that. So if you're looking for a pen similar to something like the Visconti Rembrandt, which is like for the most part an entry-level Visconti, then the Van Gogh is a very solid pen which performs well, it looks nice, and actually has some pretty cool features. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.